Hello and welcome to the Foolery Show, where we take sad topics and try to make them sound positive. Yeah, so our next question here is, ice pick lobotomies, where essentially you're putting a brain needle and stirring the works, for lack of better terms, and these are typically performed in the 1930s and 50s, and left many patients in a vegetative state. So this is pretty intense, but it's all about the time, right? Like, what was another solution for these people? They didn't have the technology. They didn't have the luxury of the current medical things we have now. And this was an effective way of keeping them docile. And is it cruel? Is it savage? Yeah. But this is the best we could do for our time. And I think it was impressive for the time to be able to solve those problems. Like a lot, back in the 1930s and 50s, people just considered them crazy and would either have them jailed or killed, right? So this lobotomy was actually, may sound brutal by modern standards, honestly really impressive back then to identify a problem and have some kind of, solution for it. Next up is the father of the Saturn rocket that sent many American astronauts to the moon was a Nazi war criminal. He actually supervised a slave labor facility in which more than 20,000 workers died of beatings, starvation, executions, and other mistreatment. He had been brought to the U.S. by the U.S. Army as part of an operation to make use of German scientists. So this is one of the most messed up things about war, is sometimes there's value there. There's, because of the horrifying things done, there actually is valuable knowledge that other countries can use. And I guess, obviously not to discount what kind of horrible things that were done. If we zoom out and look at the species as a whole, we looked at, because of this horrifying thing, major jumps were made in technology and science. And though, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of Americans died in the war, we were able to get this technology and propel humanity forward much farther than we ever would if we would just removed it. Right? Maybe it may be unethical, it may be horrifying to realize, but this is more of a realize that for the greater good. Why kill these people when there's so much to learn? Not to say to repeat what they did, but to at least use their knowledge, not put them in a high standing, but to use their knowledge for the betterment of all humankind. So the next topic is, it's getting spicy. Gandhi slept naked with his teenage grandnieces for celibacy tests. This is one of those things where it turns out everyone's human. Even the best of us, or seemingly the best of us, can be monsters sometimes. It's not a complete human thing. I think something good here is what it became. He basically may have done weirdly unethical or maybe closely unethical or ancestral type things. But sometimes to achieve greatness, weird things or awful things need to happen. Of course, no one is saying, oh man, this is a great thing, we should continue doing this. But, what the man did for whole India is a constant and impressive notion. And a testament to Indian independence and the strength of the country as a whole. Are we advertising that this is a good thing? No, but I think he did what he had to do, and that itself is impressive. Maybe not inspiring, but impressive. So next up is a closely American one. Abraham Lincoln actually was racist and did not want black people to vote or hold office or marry white people. Yet he freed the slaves. So how can someone be one way but be such another way? I think it all comes down to politics. A lot around the slaves were politics. So why would someone be racist and not want black people to vote, yet, by the way, decided to do the polar opposite? And I think that's because this is actually one of the ironies of life that actually makes it great. You can hate people, you can be racist, you don't want them to be around, but you realize what's being done to them is worse. You hate your enemy, or you consider them your enemy, but you realize that something is just wrong. This is actually an amazing testament to our own realization that some things are just wrong. I don't care if they've done bad things. I don't care if, you feel a certain way. It's wrong, and politically it shouldn't happen. Maybe we can discuss other weird things about how to keep them out of government, but ultimately what was happening to them was wrong, and he went above and beyond for that. And that's a very inspiring thing. So next up is Winston Churchill was actually racist, and several controversies or atrocities that he's completed in there, such as refusing to feed the people during an Indian famine, or even blaming them for their own misfortune. And this is just really hard to understand. Like, how could you be this cool guy in history, but doing some pretty messed up stuff? And even blaming. And so I think this is a two-part answer here. First part is, politicians blaming people for their own misfortune typically is a scapegoat technique. That means that there really is something else going on. There really is something else going on at home. And I think a politician, would only do this type of thing to help their own people. Typically, or as a leader, you do it to screw over your people or help your people. And I think, during these Indian famines, I think this was a horrible thing to do, but it drew the line in the sand where, Winston Churchill should not be in part of the Indian famine at all. In fact, he should not be governing that area at all. In fact, India shouldn't even be relying on them. And it also shows a testament to the country. So this is a good thing for, to show nationalism. It was true that they didn't, even though they said a lot of things to India, they didn't actually support them. So ultimately, people died and people suffered, but this was a good thing for each nation. And okay, these are getting harder. Any questions, suggestions, comments, or any topics you'd like to give us, please send them to thefooleryclub@gmail.com.